Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news coming out of the LSU football program as Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton expected to be promoted to co-offensive coordinators heading into the 2024 year. And for the LSU fans that have been rocking with the boys for the last couple of weeks, we've kind of been banging the table for this, right? You're looking at this LSU offense in 2023. The number one offense we saw in the entire country, averaged 43 points per game, 537 yards per game, 8.3 yards per play. All three of those metrics, number one in the country. You did not want many things to change in this LSU offense. You saw them do a phenomenal job with Nussmeier in the bowl game against Wisconsin. I mean, for us, we were kind of talking about this. This has been a no-brainer for LSU. And to lock Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton in, who I think, too, of the more talented and up-and-coming coaches in college football. I mean, this is massive for this LSU program. The offense, I think, stays right where it's at. Obviously, with the changes on the defensive side of the ball, we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. You expect that unit to take a step. And this is one of those programs that I kind of continue to say you're looking to buy stock in a program that is going to look and sound different in the next couple of years. I think it's these LSU Tigers. Right, you take a look at this offense and not only what it's going to be in 2024, but you bring in a guy like Bryce Underwood and DeCorian Moore and Harlem Berry already in that 2025 class. This is going to be a special LSU offense for the next couple of years. Really excited about this hire. Many of you guys know how big of a fan I am of Joe Sloan and what he's done not only at LSU, but going back to what he did at Louisiana Tech too. Truly one of the brighter up-and-coming coaches in college football. Want to have the conversation of what Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton bring to the table for LSU and what it's going to look like for co-offensive coordinators. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and a shout out to the LSU fans. I mean, this is a program that, whether it's transfer portal, whether it's the coaching changes on the defensive side of the football, cannot thank you guys enough for rocking with the fellas. A program I've had a blast talking about. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with Joe Sloan. I want to start with the dynamic of what it's going to look like with the co-offensive coordinators. And from what I've been reading, and I think largely what LSU fans expect, Joe Sloan, with already kind of play calling experience, is going to be the play caller on Saturdays. But Cortez Hankton, a guy that's been a passing game coordinator for Georgia as well, is a very, I mean, the proof is in the pudding with what Cortez Hankton's done, developing wide receivers, designing a passing attack. I think these two are going to work wonderfully as an offensive coordinator. I think most importantly, you kind of know who your play caller is. And Joe Sloan, who's a proven play caller. I think he's a phenomenal play caller. One of the, again, brighter offensive minds that you see in college football. And then you have a guy like Cortez Hankton who's going to have a heavy hand in developing the offensive game plan on a week-to-week basis. And so having those clear responsibilities is massive. And there's not really a question of whose responsibility is what. And I think the biggest problem you can sometimes have with co-offensive coordinators, and as a Michigan fan, we went through this in the 2022 year where we had two offensive coordinators. One was calling plays between the 20s, and then the other one was calling plays in the red zone. I mean, that it was clunky, right? And you saw Michigan really struggle in the red zone in that 2022 year because they had just different play callers. It was kind of all over the place. I'm a fan of co-offensive coordinators when the responsibilities are extremely clear. And it seems like in this situation, Joe Sloan is going to be the guy calling the plays on Saturday, but Cortez Hankton is going to be a guy that has a very heavy hand in this offense. And I think locking both of these guys in with that co-offensive coordinator tag ensures that they're staying in Baton Rouge for a while. And you look at these two guys, again, some of the brighter up-and-coming coaches, and to ensure that they're going to be at LSU for a while, I think is absolutely massive. Now, you take a look at Joe Sloan first. Masterclass in terms of quarterback development. Again, going back to Louisiana Tech, was a phenomenal recruiter at Louisiana Tech, been a phenomenal recruiter for LSU in his short stint so far. But more importantly, I mean, what he does developing quarterbacks, took Jaden Daniels, who came over from Arizona State as a talented quarterback. Most people around college football knew he was a talented quarterback, but was extremely raw, and polished him up into a Heisman Trophy winner in the 2023 season. I mean, a masterclass in terms of developing quarterbacks. Joe Sloan, a great offensive mind, great quarterback developer. That is what you want in your offensive coordinator who's calling the plays. Somebody who knows how to connect with quarterbacks, make them feel comfortable, get them right on game day. And then you take a look at a guy in Cortez Hankton who, again, proof's in the pudding. You look at what Cortez Hankton has done, not only on the recruiting trail, but in terms of player development. Malik Neighbors about to go top 10 in the NFL draft. Brian Thomas probably going to go top 25 in the NFL draft, producing 2 first-round caliber wide receivers. LSU's wide receiver play has been phenomenal. You're excited about some of the young guys coming in as well. Now, as much as we just talked about how good of player developers and kind of offensive minds both Cortez Hankton and Joe Sloan are, phenomenal recruiters as well, and both have a lot of experience in the state of Louisiana. Obviously, Joe Sloan, coming from Louisiana Tech, very experienced recruiting that state. And you take a look at what he's done in the short amount of time he's been at LSU, obviously landing Bryce Underwood. That is the crown jewel, one of the more talented quarterbacks that we've seen come up from the high school ranks. Trey Green, a guy that I think is going to play very, very early for LSU in 2024 as a freshman. Shelton Sampson, Deshaun McBride, a lot of the top commitments that LSU has landed the last 2 cycles. I mean, Joe Sloan has had a heavy hand in that, and you see the kind of the clear pattern there, right? Bryce Underwood obviously coming from Michigan. Everyone else coming from Louisiana. Joe Sloan, elite, was very, very good at recruiting Louisiana during his time at Louisiana Tech, and has done a phenomenal job for LSU recruiting the state. And we continue to hammer home the idea that LSU, if they want to get back to kind of where they belong as a program, you got to recruit the state. And a guy like Joe Sloan certainly going to do that. And then you go to Cortez Hankton, who, again, is a Louisiana native, has done a phenomenal job not only in the state of Louisiana, but you look at his time both at LSU and Georgia. This is, again, one of the elite recruiters across the country. DeCorian Moore committed in that 2025 class. Guys like George Pickens, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, Cedric Van Pan, Lewis Seen. I mean, both of these guys, as your co-offensive coordinators, not only, again, are proven developers of talent, but also know how to get the talent to this LSU campus. And so you're looking at the boxes that you want to check in terms of what you want in your offensive coordinators. One, you want bright offensive minds. You want guys that know how to scheme up offense. Cortez Hankton and a guy like Joe Sloan certainly have done that. But I think more importantly, they are not more importantly, but just as importantly, they're elite recruiters as well. And that's often hard to find in the college football landscape, finding guys that are elite at the X's and O's and also can get it done on recruiting. You take a look at Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, very, very good X's and O's. Can he recruit? That's still a question. I mean, LSU's co-offense coordinators heading into 2024 are elite game planners, X's and O guys, player developers, but also get it done on the recruiting trail as well. They're checking 2 boxes, 2 young coaches that have extremely bright futures. I think from the jump, this one seemed like a no-brainer. And I think for the news to happen today, Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton being elevated as co-offensive coordinators, if you're an LSU fan, I don't think you could ask for anything better than that. And you take a look at the defensive side of the football, it's kind of the classic, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This offense was certainly not broke. We don't want anything changing. We want to continue that offense heading into 2024. That's what Brian Kelly said in his presser. And then if it's broke, you got to fix it. That defense was broke. Brian Kelly knew it was broke. He goes out and spends a ton of money bringing in elite defensive coaches to this LSU staff. Phenomenal offseason for LSU. And I'm really interested, and we'll continue to talk about this. We got the LSU defensive line preview coming up in the what? We got to do it Friday. I'm very interested to see what you see LSU do in the transfer portal as well. Because I think you look at this roster, the coaching staff, I think they've made massive additions. And I think they needed to, and they certainly did. And I think there's still a little bit more work to do on that defensive line in the transfer portal. We'll talk about that in a couple of days. Again, LSU fans, cannot thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. The amount of support really does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.